Welcome, my dear friends. It is Wade for the Kingdom Report hanging out with you once again, this time for a repackaged Disney News Talk live. What an honor it is to be with you once more. I know that we recently tried this out just sort of as a pilot to see if there was going to be any sort of response, if anybody appreciated what we were trying to do, and number one, if it brought any value to you. And you all had some very nice things to say. So we're going to start doing more broadcasts just like this, especially as news comes along. That is, we'll say, stories of note. Things that definitely affect us all, that definitely impact us all. And this is a broadcast that is very much based on your feedback, your perspective, your experience. So when it comes to going to Disney parks, when it comes to dealing with these sorts of things, we want to know how it affects you, exactly, what you're thinking when it comes to these sorts of stories. And so we are definitely going to touch on a couple here tonight. I know that for those of you joining us in the future, you're no doubt listening to us on a pre-recorded, or excuse me, an after-recorded version, if you will, of the broadcast. And I want to say a big thanks for that. So even if you're not catching us live, this was very impromptu. So very much an impromptu broadcast where we were not necessarily advertising it leading up to the show itself, but wanted to definitely see if we could jump on, provide some various topics in which to talk about, and get your feedback on what's going on in the Disney parks realm. There is a lot to talk about. I know that definitely in the realm of reservations for theme parks, annual passes, on top of that, the Magic Key passes. So Disney World's released a slew of annual passes now, and the Magic Key program is in effect over at Disneyland. We're going to be talking about all of that, as well, my friends, as the Forbes.com study has put out. We are going to be touching on their information, and that is all about the cost of Disney parks tickets here in the near future, within the next 10 years in particular, and just how high those prices are going to go. So lots to talk about, lots of things to touch on. And again, very much looking for your perspective on all of it, and cannot wait to dive in. I was able to definitely drop by the parks a couple of different times this week out on the West Coast, and was able to experience some things at Disneyland. You know, it's very weird. I was there on Monday and things were quite busy. Like, more busy than I had anticipated. And so definitely captured that, made sure that it was featured in our Disneyland update this week. So if you've missed the in-park update for Disneyland, it's here on the YouTube channel over at the Kingdom Report. Definitely check that out after this and make sure you're up to date with what's happening at Disneyland and California Adventure. But it was unusually busy, far busier than we have seen it in recent updates. In fact, the last 3 updates, I mean, wait times were like 5 minutes. You know, you were able to walk onto everything. But this past week, this past Monday, crowds started to show up again. Much bigger crowds all of a sudden appeared. And so that's something that I definitely wanted to touch on because it came out of nowhere for me. You know, I was anticipating that the weekend especially was going to be super crowded. This original broadcast that we had put out when it came to this first version of Disney News Talk Live, it was on a Saturday, and that was the first official Saturday that the Magic Key annual pass was in effect. And we saw wait times of topping out about 45 minutes, and then everything else was a little bit lower, but definitely busier than we are used to, especially given the last couple weeks and how quiet everything has been. And then I dropped by Disneyland yesterday, and things were quiet again. So it looks like we are in that on again, off again experience. And I was even seeing comments from people who said, well, what the heck? You know, I'm here on a Tuesday and it's really quiet. There's nobody around. What are you talking about? This is completely bunked. No, on Monday, things were dramatically different. And I even showed the wait times. I always show the wait boards in those videos just so everybody has an idea as to what the park is dealing with at any given time. And now all of a sudden, super quiet again. So I would imagine that as we pick up in terms of Magic Key holders, not only people buying those Magic Key passes, but also individuals that are interested in, going for Halloween time, that's certainly going to be a factor in all of this. It's going to definitely be something that's going to play out as we go into this weekend, especially for Friday being the kickoff to Halloween time at the Disneyland Resort. So lots of things, again, to touch on here as the week has progressed. We've watched this sort of peak and valley all of a sudden, and so we definitely see that the crowds are returning to a certain degree. They are there, and people are willing to come back to the parks, excited to come back to the parks. I have no idea why Monday in particular was just so much busier than the rest of the week, but a lot of people were there. So definitely something that I wanted to touch on because it was unusual to see it spike and then drop yet again. Ladies and gentlemen, one comment that I happened to overhear when I was in Avengers Campus at California Adventure on Wednesday was when Captain America was moving through the land. He was walking from one place to another, and characters don't really stop and meet and greet right now. They keep moving if they are moving at all. And so one thing that I wanted to make mention of was just how big this crowd was that followed him through the land itself, and everybody was just trying to get near him. And he was being very much Captain America, being very much a superhero, and doing his best to maintain distance and keep everybody happy. And I heard some young lady from within the crowd scream out, "The rumors are true. That is America's ass." Yeah, that's what I heard. So she was thrilled. She was smitten, and she thought it looked great. And Captain America gave her a wink and kept on walking. But a direct line from the film itself, playing out in our theme parks now. So I thought that was a lot of fun. Definitely something unique to encounter, that's for sure. Well, the first questions that I had up for this week were that of our Magic Key annual pass holder reservations. Something I wanted to throw at you right off the bat is just this idea that Magic Key annual pass reservations can book out. And, that's something that a lot of people don't realize, is that these reservations can essentially sell out to a certain degree. I mean, I guess that's how we'll refer to it. So Magic Key reservations can sell out given the fact that theme parks are still restricted. So if you were to go to Disneyland on any given day, if they meet their quota in terms of the allowable crowd inside the park, then that's it. There are no reservations left, no matter what your level of pass seems to be. It's blocking everybody out. So one of the questions that I had for you is, what are your expectations of an annual pass like the Magic Key when the reservations do sell out? Are you somebody that subscribes to this idea that you must have your reservation because you paid for it? You certainly plunked the money down, so therefore you demand that you get your day because that's what you want. Or are you somebody that understands that as of right now, and it is in the terms and conditions, by the way, it's not like they're sneaking up and surprising anybody with this. It's all in the agreement that you now sign off on and say, yeah, no, I get it. This is something that I accept. But I don't think a lot of people read that. I certainly did, just to make sure I understood all the terms and conditions that were coming with this new Magic Key program. But I think a lot of people did not read that. And so I just want to know what your expectations are when it comes to the Magic Key reservation system. If it sells out and you were wanting to come on a weekend, what are your expectations of that? Do you think Disney should provide you an opportunity to come in because you're paying for an annual pass? Or are you somebody that subscribes to the idea that things are different right now and therefore it's allowable and something that you will just, let happen and continue paying and just try and find another day to visit? Very interested in what your thoughts are when it comes to that sort of subject. So, like I said, the sellout, if you will, of Magic Keys is happening. So it's a very interesting, especially for the first 2 weeks, for the first 2 weekends officially of this being available. It's a very interesting thing to have had happen. And Brady McDonald over at dailynews.com, he writes that Disneyland has run out of Magic Key annual pass reservations for the first 2 weekends. The Dream Key and Belief Key pass holders reservations sold out for the first 2 weekends of the new Magic Key program on August 28th and 29th, as well as September 4th and 5th. So that's coming up this coming weekend, as a matter of fact. So we're just a couple days away from that. And he says that the harsh reality of the Magic Key era has arrived, with some annual pass holders who paid top dollar for unlimited access finding themselves locked out of Disneyland on the first 2 weekends of the new program. Dream Key and Believe Key pass holder reservations sold out for the first 2 weekends of the new Magic Key program on August 28th, 29th, September 4th, and 5th. The new Magic Key annual passes went on sale August 25th with prices ranging from $399 to $1,399. Disneyland ended its former 4-decade-old annual pass program in January during the extended coronavirus closures of the parks. At times over the past 24 hours, Disneyland's dynamic Magic Key calendar has shown no reservations available for September 4th and 5th. At times on Monday, August 30th, Dream Key holders could make reservations for California Adventure on September 4th and Disneyland on September 5th, while Believe Key holders could access both parks on September 4th and neither park on September 5th. See, now this is where it's going to get confusing, right? This is where, because this doesn't add up between both of those keys. One key is more important than the other key in terms of how much people have spent on it. This is going to be a problem, I think, because there is no clear, they don't release their capacity, they don't release how many reservations they're going to allow. And so when one key sees that there's availability versus the other key, I think you're going to see big pushback when it comes to people that are forking over big money for the top tier keys. It says next weekend was sold out for all key holders as of 2:30 p.m. on Monday, August 30th, but of course that could change. Key holders are encouraged to check back regularly to the Magic Key calendars as reservation inventory availability can change, according to Disneyland officials. Again, I say, that's a problem. That's going to bite them. As somebody that worked in the theme parks for over a decade, I was with senior management for a very long time. They are setting themselves up here for a dramatic pushback from the most rabid of supporters, right? The most loyal of fans, I being one of them. I have myself a Magic Key. They are setting themselves up for a complete fall-on-face moment because you are not going to get this nice, casual, comfortable understanding from people when you toy with the inventory. Either you have inventory or you don't. You have capacity or you do not. Don't mess with the numbers up and down, and one day you have it and one day you don't. And I understand some people can cancel, some people can back out, some people can, even the night before at 11:59, they can retreat and it'll open up spots. Don't do this. Don't go down this road, Disney, because I know what's going to happen, and you are going to fall flat on your face, and it's going to hurt because this annual pass holder demographic, it's not a new one. These are the same people from before. These folks are not going to let you off easy just because you say sorry or, oh, look, suddenly things are available again. People are trying to plan out their experience and they're paying good money for it. So either you have inventory or you don't. Set a standard and stay there, or don't have a standard at all. At any rate, the story goes on. It's not surprising that reservations sold out on the first weekend after Magic Key went on sale based on the pent-up demand from former annual pass holders. Many of last weekend's reservations appeared to be snapped up at the last moment by key holders looking to break in their new passes. The on-again, off-again sold-out status of Magic Key reservations for the upcoming weekend likely has to do with the launch of Halloween time decor and entertainment that officially kicks off on Friday, September 3rd, and the 3-day Labor Day holiday weekend. New key holders scooped up all available reservations for last weekend within days of launch of the new Magic Key program, according to Mice Chat. Next weekend's reservations are currently sold out as well, although availability can change on a moment's notice. Imagine keys were blocked out for August 28th and 29th, and Imagine and Enchant keys are blocked out for September 4th and 5th. The certainty of blockout dates under the former annual pass system has given way to the uncertainty of unavailable reservations in the new Magic Key era. Disneyland's black box approach to reservation availability means key holders have no way of knowing how many reservations are left, no warning when dates will sell out, and no idea which days will be unavailable next. See, again I say, this is going to become a really big problem, I think. So you let me know. Do you think we're on the cusp of a big pushback? I think it's a little early, and there's still a honeymoon phase with this. People are just happy to be going back to Disneyland, excited to have the opportunity to go back to Disneyland. This is not going to last. This honeymoon phase is going to end very quickly if you toy with people's ability to go when they're paying top dollar, especially, to be able to visit. Restrictions or not, if you're messing with the levels, it's going to come back to bite you. Quote, the first and second weekends of Dream Magic Key at Disneyland were already blocked out if you didn't decide to get a reservation ahead of time, Twitter user Haston from Santa Ana wrote on Monday, when all reservations were unavailable, saying, this system might be a hellscape in a few months, a fine needle to thread with how much people pay and how they expect to go, close quote. There you go. I'm telling you, this storm is coming, ladies and gentlemen. It is on its way. You can anticipate that. Sold out reservations on September 4th and 5th mean $1,399 Dream Key and $949 Believe Key pass holders have the same level of access as the blocked out $649 Enchant Key and $399 Imagine Key pass holders. Disneyland tested the waters of an advanced reservation annual pass system with the launch of the top-rated Flex Pass in May 2019. I had that one, by the way. It took months before Flex reservations became unavailable after the launch of the pass. By comparison, Magic Key reservations were gone within days of the first 2 weekends, a testament to the volume of new passes sold. Key holders are quickly getting the message that they will have to plan ahead if they want to visit the parks on weekends, holidays, and popular seasonal dates. No more waiting until the last minute to plan a visit. Less popular weekdays are still available for last-minute Magic Key reservations. That could all change as Disneyland sells more Magic Keys in the coming days, of course. You know, competition for Magic Key reservations will continue to grow. He says here, increasingly fierce with every new annual pass Disneyland sells. Absolutely. Every new annual pass that Disneyland sells will become just another drop in the bucket to overflow that bucket and completely remove your ability to get a reservation. Quote, it appears that weekends and holidays may be difficult to obtain, and even more so as more and more folks sign up for Magic Key, according to MiceChat. Quote, we now live in an age of all things Disney needing to be planned weeks or months in advance, close quote. Reservation limits over the past weekend kept crowd levels and attraction wait times manageable at Disneyland and California Adventure, despite Magic Key access being fully booked, according to MiceChat. The Anaheim theme park has the ability to cut off Magic Key sales, but has not indicated if and when that could happen. Disneyland is offering a free swag box for key holders who buy their pass in the first 66 days in honor of Disneyland's 66th anniversary. How can pass holders avoid sold-out dates? Well, expect key holders to begin squatting on reservation dates that may appeal to them in the future if they're not doing that already. I'm going to raise my hand right now. I am doing that because I knew exactly what was going to happen here. I saw the writing on the wall, and that is why I had to get a pass that allowed for the 6 reservation slots ahead. So I believe that it's the top 2, right? So you've got your Believe in your Dream Key. Both of those are the ones that allow you to have up to 6 reservation windows at any given time. I did that just to book out on weekends leading as far out as I could, and the most popular weekends too, by the way. The weekends I knew eventually there's going to be a fight for those, and people just haven't caught on yet. So I guarantee that in the not-so-distant future, there is going to be quite the battle when it comes to the tug of war, as it were, when it comes to these pass holders all vying for the same sorts of dates. So that's going to be a very interesting time indeed. Dream and Believe key holders can hold up to 6 reservations at a time. Enchant key holders can have up to 4 reservations, and Imagine key holders can have 2. Magic Key pass holders are required to cancel reservations by 11:59 p.m. the night before their visit. 3 no-shows in a 90-day period puts a 30-day hold on new reservations, and there is no limit on the number of cancellations allowed per key holder. Disneyland's new Magic Key program could lead to a new squat and release strategy where key holders book the maximum number of reservations allowable and cancel them on a rolling basis at the last moment. That means key holders could start seeing reservations free up each night between 11 p.m. and 11:59 p.m. as squatters cancel tomorrow's bookings en masse in the 11th hour. Date squatting could have the potential to make Magic Key reservations even harder to come by. So far, Disneyland has not set up a waiting list for key holders who want to visit on sold-out dates or a push alert system to notify key holders when reservations reopen for previously unavailable dates. Once again, our many thanks to Brady McDonald of dailynews.com. I'm taking a look right now at the app just to see if anything's opened up. And interestingly enough, and again, I'm the Believe key. Okay, so I am the second from the top keys. The Believe key for reservation availability right now has California Adventure available only starting tomorrow, Friday the 3rd. And then Saturday, Disneyland is the only park available, which is very odd to me. Usually it's Disneyland that gets booked out first. So the 4th is Disneyland. The 5th and 6th, Sunday and Monday, right? So going into Labor Day, both days are completely booked out. I'm not able to book either of those days. So again, we go back to this idea that, as Brady so eloquently put, we are now going to see lots of squat and release leading up to the night before. I guarantee that's what you are going to come across if you are an annual pass holder. If you've put that big money down for this ability to visit Disneyland anytime, doesn't look like you're going to be able to do it in the near future, and that to me is pretty unfortunate. So I very much am interested in knowing what you think about all of this. I've shared with you sort of my thoughts, my ideas here when it comes to this pass program. You think that there's going to be a pushback? You think there's going to be a blowback when it comes to these reservation windows and people paying top dollar and not being able to get what they wanted? Do you also think that Disney should accommodate more reservations? They should accommodate more of a window. I think it's also worth pointing out here, by the way, that last weekend, during the inaugural weekend, if you will, of the Magic Key program, those wait times were not necessarily all that bad. So 45 minutes and below, 45 minutes is where it topped out for the most extreme of all the attractions, most extreme of all the most popular attractions, if you will. So it topped out at 45 and continued lower based on attractions that just commanded a lower wait throughout the entire park. And the same thing over at California Adventure. So even though both parks sold out last weekend, I think it's important here to make note that, hey, the wait time still seemed quite manageable. So here's the other question. Do you think that it's cool having these reservations in effect right now? Because again, we all know why the reservation windows are there, right? We know why the capacity is there. And that is to keep things at a manageable level because of the global health crisis that we're in right now. So they want to keep things a little bit more breathable. And so do you think that having this reservation policy in effect allows for a much more pleasant experience, and so you're willing to put up with it? Or do you think you're paying top dollar, you do anticipate getting something for your money, right? So are you thinking you deserve a reservation? Really am fascinated to hear what's on your mind. So go ahead, leave us a comment, share with us exactly what you are thinking, and your comments are coming up next here on Disney News Talk Live. Welcome back. Wanted to get to some of your comments, some of your thoughts here. Marquita says the fact that it took as long as it did to bring back annual passes, Disney had to know. Sorry about that. The fact that it took as long as it did to bring back annual passes, Disney had to know that folks would be using those magic keys and booking reservations expeditiously. First come, first serve. Thank you for that. Bruce wrote in saying Disneyland trams back eventually. They should be able to get them up easily. It's all standard truck parts and repairable. 3208 Caterpillar engine and truck automatic transmission. Bruce, yeah, they're coming at some point. They just have not reinstituted them, unfortunately. It is going to remain at this point a bus system taking you to and from the Toy Story parking lot. So you do have an option over at the Toy Story parking lot, but the tram itself is not something that you will be able to take for now. I'm sure that eventually it's coming back on both coasts. We will see when. Bruce also said, if they play with reservations availability, it will be bad. Some visitors buy passes for vacation use instead of multi-day passport. Absolutely right. You know, this is something that I think is, again, I think this is going to bite them really too. I just can't see a good way around this. I just can't see a way in which this ends up being a positive for the Disney company. It's going to blow back on them eventually, and I'm a little worried about what we're going to see. So at any rate, I know Dee is chiming in with her thoughts. She says, I think Disney Genie will be an even bigger problem than their reservation system. So, of course, Dee is referring to the Disney Genie program that is taking place out at Walt Disney World. And that is something that has a lot of Disney fans very stirred up, very upset. And that's because they're essentially taking FastPass as we know it, as a complimentary service and turning it into something that you have to pay for. Disney Genie will also allow for people to have expedited experiences all over the place and certainly become something that will potentially create a two-tier demographic within the theme parks. And I foresee problems on that end as well. But Dee, thank you for that. So yes, chiming in with that information, chiming in with your take on Walt Disney World and the Genie Plus and how that might tie into things. Great segue for us to move on over to our next story, and that is that Walt Disney World itself, my friends, has released an annual pass. Yes, indeed. They have brought their annual pass back in a variety of forms, just like the Magic Key program is now a part of our lives at Disneyland on the West Coast. And one of the things that I wanted to throw out there before we dive into the story is, what does your ideal Walt Disney World annual pass have included? So if you were to create your dream annual pass for Walt Disney World, what would it have? Would you have complimentary parking as part of every annual pass? Would you have a water park option on your annual pass? Would you have PhotoPass attached to your annual pass? What sort of things would create your ideal Walt Disney World annual pass? That's what I want to know. Leave that in our comment section so we can get back to you and share your thoughts here in just a bit. But let's move on to the big news, and that is that Walt Disney World is in fact releasing so many annual pass holder options now. We've been waiting a really long time, and now it is happening. And we're going to make a comparison here between both the Disneyland Magic Key Pass and the Walt Disney World Annual Pass. So there are a few differences. There are a few things worth mentioning here. And our friends over at DAPS Magic have decided to sort of break this down for us in a way that is very helpful, very understandable. And they say that this month saw the announcement of Disneyland Resort's new Magic Key Pass program and Walt Disney World Resort's new annual pass program. Initially, these two programs could seem quite different with two very different names. However, there are also some similarities. Below, let's take a look, they say, at similarities and differences between the two programs. So they mention that, the Disneyland Magic Key program and the Walt Disney World Annual Pass have very similar price points. For the most part, the price points come pretty close with each other. Interestingly enough, The price points for Walt Disney World are cheaper than Disneyland, but that's always been the case. So they point out that the Imagine Key for Disneyland, $399 plus tax, and then the Disney Pixie Dust Pass over at Walt Disney World, also $399 plus tax. It costs you $19 a month for California or Florida residents, so it's the same there. The difference being there's a $205 down payment for Florida, $179 down for Disneyland. 2 reservations at a time for Disneyland, 3 reservations at a time for Disney World, 10% discount on food and merchandise for Disneyland, and no discounts for Walt Disney World. Interesting, right? Yeah. So I think that's something particularly I would note when it comes to the Pixie Dust Pass. The Enchant Key is $649 at Disneyland, and then the Pirate Pass. And this is the other thing that's really confusing people. These names are very odd. How are you to determine that a Pixie Dust Pass is lower than a Pirate Pass? Yeah, it's just a little confusing, I think. So at any rate, the Pirate Pass, $699, and that is $45 a month for Florida residents with $205 down payment. The Enchant Key, $40 a month. California residents with $179 down payment. Enchant Key, you get 4 reservations at a time. You do so with the Pirate Pass, and then you do get a 10% discount on food and merchandise with the Enchant Key in California, and no discounts for Walt Disney World. Believe Key, $65 a month for California residents with a $179 down payment. 6 reservations at a time, 10% discount on food and merchandise, 50% discount on parking. The Disney Sorcerer Pass is the equivalent of the Walt Disney World version, $63 a month for Florida residents with $205 down payment, 5 reservations at a time on that one. And then you have the Dream Key, which is the mother of all keys when it comes to all of your magical wishes over at Disneyland. $1,399 plus tax. That's $102 a month for California residents with $179 down. 6 reservations at a time, 20% merchandise discount, 15% food discount, and parking is included. The equivalent at Walt Disney World is the Disney Incredipass Pass, and that is $1,299 plus tax. That's $99 a month for Florida residents with $205 as a down payment and 5 reservations at a time. So on the Disneyland side, here are some additional perks that are being offered on the West Coast. You get a Magic Key Lounge, which is in Tomorrowland. There's also another opportunity for a lounge space over at California Adventure in the Golden State area. You get a charter member gift, Magic Key Month, so a celebratory month dedicated to a Magic Key holder, unique photo opportunities, and unique merchandise. Additional perks for Walt Disney World, parking's included. Standard discounts of up to 20% on food and merchandise. So I apologize. I think I said here in the beginning that there are no discounts with these passes. That was a misspeak. I apologize. I was going to get to that. So they don't have them specifically listed with each individual pass. They all come with a standard discount of up to 20% on food and merchandise. So there you go. So that's the additional perks on that end. And it's very interesting to me that it seems like they're catering a little bit more to the Disneyland side. Granted, the demographic for the Disneyland annual pass holder base is usually much bigger. So that's something that I think needs to be considered. They definitely need to cater to that demographic because it's so big and it makes such an impact. Whereas the Walt Disney World one, not so significant. But you definitely get an idea as to exactly what these annual passes are going to offer out at Walt Disney World. I am seeing a lot of feedback from people that they don't feel like they're getting very much when it comes to the annual passes out in Florida, and that unfortunately the additional the extras that have to be thrown in, such as photo pass downloads as well as the water park and sports option, those are things you can choose to tack on if you want to. Otherwise, the prices are being kept as is. So all things to consider for anybody looking to purchase their Walt Disney World annual pass. Daps Magic continues here saying, overall, there are a lot of similarities between the Magic Key and annual pass at Disneyland and Disney World resorts, respectively. There are definitely some differences as well. The biggest differences including the parking being included in all Walt Disney World annual passes. And now, with the Disneyland Resort's Magic Key. The add ons for Walt Disney World are also not offered at Disneyland. From a big picture standpoint, the similarities are the 4 different levels of passes at similar prices and payment plans. They also have a similar amount of reservations comparatively. The domestic Disney parks have entered a new era of passes. What remains to be seen is how these updated passes will impact the Disney pass holder experience. These are uncharted waters, and it will be interesting to see what stays the same and what changes. It does seem like some effort was made through to create systems for both resorts that have quite a few similarities. It will be interesting to see if they become more alike in the coming years. I don't necessarily disagree with that. In fact, I think we might just see how many of the Walt Disney World annual passes and the Disneyland annual passes end up matching up in the long run, like where they ultimately offer the same exact things down the line. And I definitely think that as the consumer base grows over the course of time, you're going to see more and more people investing in annual passes, just because I think in the long run, outside of the whole reservation debacle, I think in the long run, it's more cost effective for a lot of people, especially if you're going for a certain length of time at Walt Disney World. You're going to be there for a stretch of maybe a week and some change. Sometimes an annual pass might be a better option than a multi-day ticket, right? So I definitely think that you're going to see both of these programs become more alike over the course of time and start to align with each other. And I also think that you're going to see much more in terms of offerings and extras being thrown at the Disney World crowd, just because there are so few to start. I think that they're going to sprinkle those in eventually as sort of a, hey, here's a little carrot, hey, here's a little something extra. Disneyland and the demographic of annual pass holder for the Magic Key program, they're very much along the lines of they have large expectations. They're very much along the lines of being demanding to start for the passes and for what they've been offered in the past. And they feel like it's their park, right? They feel like it's their backyard. They feel like there's ownership to what's going on. And so they anticipate that Disneyland is going to offer up some extras automatically, and that they are going to be catered to a certain degree. I'm not saying, they're walking in with an egotistical or braggadocious sort of attitude, not at all. But there has long been a relationship that annual pass holders have had with Disneyland that is much deeper, I think, than anything Disney World has ever had. And that's because Disney World doesn't have a whole lot of locals visiting. It's an international destination. It's a destination people go and stay for long periods of time. So it's not necessarily something that we see a ton of annual pass holders, running around in and enjoying themselves, and, people lining up for days to get a magnet or a button. While those things exist from time to time, it's a rarity. And so I think you're going to see more of these extras sprinkled in as time marches on and the Disney World program sort of ramps up additional offerings. So definitely think that that's coming our way. Whereas the Disneyland version, they're starting at a higher level with the Disneyland Magic Key holders. They're starting at a higher level, trying to give the Magic Key holders that extra to get right out of the gate. They're giving them that extra right from the start, really, I think, as an attempt to make them happier. And having these 2 setup locations in the parks already for the Magic Key program at Disneyland, to have a lounge dedicated to your annual pass holder base in both parks, that's a brilliant idea. That's so smart, because the more spaces you can dedicate to this very large demographic on the West Coast, the less of them there are clogging up lines and going on rides and doing other things. So if you can keep them occupied, if you can keep them sort of centered, in a location with either cheaper things, discounted things, or unique specialty things, kind of like they do over just above, at Sonoma Terrace and California Adventure, that second floor dedicated to the annual pass holder base for Magic Keys. That's a location that's always hopping, whether it's a busy park day or not. There are always people up there because it's special for them. And so it makes them feel extra special, so they go up there and enjoy themselves. So I think that having these offerings right up front, that's something Disneyland needed to do. Like, I don't really think there was another way around it. They needed to cater to this demographic and offer up things automatically for the sake of absorbing some of those initial crowds and being proactive really is what they're doing. Walt Disney World, I don't think they have to. I just don't think that the demand is there. Yes, people have the annual passes for Walt Disney World, but you don't see a demographic like you do out at Disneyland. So again, what does your ideal annual pass have? What do you think a Disney World annual pass should have? What do you think the Magic Key annual pass should have? I'm very interested in knowing your response. Very interested in knowing what's on your mind. Please share it in the comment section. Let us know what you are thinking, and we will be sure to highlight some of your responses here coming right up. You stick around, my friends. More Disney News Talk Live for you next.
Hi, happy birthday.
And welcome back. Some of the comments we are getting right now. Eduardo says, Disneyland is just adding more stress to their guest with the whole reservation system and mobile order. I just want to walk up to the park like the good old days. We're seeing this reflected a lot in the comments section of many of our videos, and I don't disagree with you. Especially going the route of mobile order and how mobile order has sort of been ingrained now in almost everything at Disneyland. It's very noticeable that now if you have cash and you want to walk up to a register, particularly during those peak times, right? If you have cash and you want to walk up to a register, you're going to stand in a pretty hefty line because they only have one register now in most places. They really have cut out all of those cashiers. The middleman is mostly gone, and now they want you to mobile order. They want you to book everything through the app. They want you to pay using your cashless payment. And so you're almost rewarded with less of a wait by, booking things through the Disneyland app. And if you don't have the app, right, if you're not somebody that uses a smartphone, they do have cast members standing out front that have the ability to place a mobile order for you on their tablet. So there is always that option. But yeah, I'm seeing that more and more where, Disneyland has always been that drop by after work, enjoy yourself, walk in, grab something to eat, and have a good time. Now we're witnessing as the reservation system is obviously going to prevent that. There are going to be days in particular, like this Friday and the kickoff of Halloween time. You're not going to be able to just drop in after work if you have a Magic Key annual pass. It's blocked out already. You're not going to be able to do it. And if you are going to be there, you can bet that mobile order is going to be a thing that you're going to need to do if you want to get anything to eat. Now, there are a couple of restaurants, by the way, at Disneyland that are still off the grid, which is just so nice. So there are a few options for you where you don't have to mobile order. Two of those places being the Plaza Inn, as well as, and they were on mobile order there for a while, but then they dropped it, and God bless them for doing that. So Plaza Inn, and then Rancho del Zocalo Restaurante. So Eduardo, if you are somebody that doesn't want a mobile order, you can go ahead and saunter on into Plaza Inn and Rancho del Zocalo. You don't have to worry about it. So no such thing as mobile order there as of right now. Hopefully it doesn't come back at Plaza Inn, and hopefully it does not surface at all at Rancho del Zocalo. But I agree, we are going to see added stress when it comes to this reservation system. One of the nice things about Disneyland, Eduardo, is that I've never felt the pressure that I do when I visit a place like Walt Disney World. I've never felt that before, and I'm starting to feel it now for the first time. When you visit Walt Disney World, It is a planning bonanza, right? It is something you plan for months. Now, certainly I don't feel the need to do that for Disneyland, not months, but now I have to start planning my life around a Disneyland drop-in trip just to make sure I can do it. So it is becoming a little bit more stressful. And I think, unfortunately, those days of being able to just drop in on the fly, I think they're gone, my friend. I think they are slowly fading away. Now, who's to say, though, that they're not going to return eventually? So, reminder that the only reason why we have reservations are due to the global situation. However, we've also heard, so I want to play both sides here. We've also heard from the Disney Parks chairman, Josh D'Amaro, and the CEO, Bob Chapek. They like these reservations, right? They foresee them sticking around for a very long time because this now provides Disney the ability to control the chaos. They've always wanted this. As long as I work there, this was always talked about. Wouldn't it be great if we could control this chaos? Wouldn't it be great if we could control how bad these crowds were getting? Disneyland especially. Disney World, you knew when the big crowds were coming, right? They were always around holiday periods. You always knew when they were showing up. Disneyland, it could be on a Friday night in the middle of October, and you have no idea that they're all going to show up at once. Now, you do know. Now, they are fully aware of who's coming and who's not, and they can control whether or not they turn that faucet right off. So, I appreciate the questions. Thank you so much for throwing that my way. Marquita says, I think that Disney should have stuck with the name Magic Key for all the passes on both coasts. The pass names at Walt Disney World sound childish. It sucks that out-of-state guests with only one pass option only have one pass option too. Yeah, this, I agree. I think I think I understand why they did it, for the sake of having two separate identities, because you are charging different prices on both coasts. You can't necessarily call it the same thing, especially having two very distinct properties, two very distinct offerings when it comes to each level of pass, that sort of thing. So I think that that's what we are dealing with here in terms of them calling it two different things. But I will agree, when it comes to the names of the Walt Disney World annual passes, I don't understand these at all. I don't understand the Pirate Pass and the Pixie Dust Pass and the Incredi Pass and what? What? How am I supposed to know one is elevated over the other? How am I supposed to know this sort of thing? So, it's funny, to say the least. And the Magic Key, at least those levels with the Dream and Enchant Key and stuff like that, those are all along the same vein of styling, whereas Pixie Dust and Incredi Pass and Pirate Pass, those I think make it more confusing. I don't know if you feel the same way, but those make it more confusing for me. That's something where I have to go back to the list every time and look. What is that? Exactly how does that measure up? I don't understand. So at any rate, we move on to another comment here. Pravina says, I like Magic Key's design and names better. Amen to that. I completely agree. As I was just mentioning, the Magic Key concept in general, there's so much you can do with it from a marketing standpoint also. The whole Magic Key concept is, I think, brilliant. And the whole idea behind, now you have your key to the kingdom, even though it's restricted by reservation. Now you have your key and you can come in whenever you'd like, depending on the day, time, and whether or not it's been booked out before you. But I completely agree. I think that the Magic Key concept, names, you name it, the whole rollout is so much better. The Disney World version, the Disney World annual passes, not just in name, but the whole feeling of the marketing of it so far feels incredibly corporate to me, and just comes off as a little less than engaging, whereas the Magic Key felt very soft and comfortable and happy and exciting, whereas the Walt Disney World version, it's like, here is what we're offering. I mean, that is how it looks, that is how it feels, that is how it comes across. And for a company like Disney that is known for its storytelling, that is known for its ability to engage the consumer in an emotional way, we're not getting that with these annual passes out at Walt Disney World. So I don't know if it's just less passion behind the Disney World annual pass program. And, the Magic Key program is one that they know they have to execute the right way the first time or what. But yeah, the Magic Key design and names are so much better. So thank you for that. Appreciate your comments. Again, if you have comments for us, if you have anything on your mind, please let us know. Leave it in our live chat. We are responding to things as much as we can in real time, and we so appreciate you tuning into this broadcast. We are Disney News Talk Live. It is a new sort of show that we've added to the lineup here at the Kingdom Report. My name is Wade Heath. I am honored to be with you. It always makes me feel so good whenever we get at least even one person tuning into what we're doing, but it means so much that we recently hit our 10,000 subscriber mark, and that means so much to all of us here at the channel, from myself, Tyler Crouch, Katrina Manzoni, Garrett Hassel, all of us that have been building this baby for the last year and a half. It's meant so much that not only have you found value in what we're doing, but you also seem to appreciate the content that we're putting out there, and you seem to be really responding to it. And we're doing our best to connect you to more of what makes you happy. That's the whole concept behind the Kingdom Report in general. So thank you for giving us an opportunity to not only bring you that content, not only do our best to connect you to those things, but for allowing us to be a part of your lives in a certain way. I mean, we often do have our Kingdom Report live show every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. That means a whole lot that you tune into that as well. And that is our live video version. So for all of you that have joined us in the last 2 weeks in particular, since we hit our 10,000 mark, we jumped another 1,000 or so subscribers in the last 2 weeks, just out of nowhere. So again, I want to say thank you for going out of your way to not only subscribe to this channel, but also be engaged in our content and, give us that feedback and let us know how you're feeling and dropping those comments and hitting the thumbs up buttons and, making sure that we are aware of what's working for you and what isn't. We're only going to do content that you would like. We're only going to do content that serves you and allows for you to get some value out of it. So again, I thank you for the opportunity to be a part of your life in this way. We've all of us here on the team have had some sort of connection to Disney at some point. So we bring you a trusted theme park perspective that is very unique in the Disney fandom, the Disney fan community and content creators. We're a unique group of people that all come from different walks of life, from the hospitality industry as well as the Walt Disney Company. So it means a lot that we can be here with you in any capacity, but also here with you with a broadcast just like this. So this is part of our new lineup of programming. We are going to definitely be doing more Disney News Talk lives as stories break and as things come online that are definitely worth talking about and sharing. We wanted to veer away from Kingdom Report Live a little bit to start doing Disney News Talk Live. And Kingdom Report Live isn't going to go anywhere. So for those of you that like to watch our show on Saturday and see all of us, that's something that we will continue to do. But we wanted to go this route with Disney News Talk Live, mainly just to provide you an opportunity to be heard, because we know a lot of you have experiences, a lot of you have particular Disney park opinions that you'd like to share. We want to give you a home for that. We think that's really important. We think that's really critical for a successful channel and for an overall understanding as to what the Disney parks and the Disney company are facing in the near future. We're here to provide you a voice, elevate your voice, and allow you an opportunity to be heard. That is why we are doing what we're doing, in addition to connecting you to more of what makes you happy. So a big old thanks for allowing us to be a part of your lives in this way. All right, so we move from there into our final topic of the broadcast, and that is the cost of Disney tickets in the coming future. Yeah, there's a study that was done that is predicting exactly how costly it is going to be when it comes to visiting a place like Disneyland and Walt Disney World. Before we get there, though, I do want to ask, you give us your feedback on this one. All right, so before we go diving into things, before we go sharing it with you, I want to know first and foremost, exactly how high is too high when it comes to ticket costs at Disney for you? So is there a cutoff point when it gets to a point where Maybe it's one day, one park, $180. Is that it? Is that your cutoff? Are you a park hopper person? If park hoppers get to say $290, is that something that you're going to say, oh, no? Very interested in what your, in particular, cutoff is. We've seen as Disney has continued to roll out extras, add-ons, upcharges in recent weeks, that they are looking to make some money here in the near future, right? They are definitely looking to increase that opportunity for themselves, we'll say, to have you purchase a little more and to have you spend a little extra. So no doubt ticket prices will go up as they do every year. Sometimes they've gone up twice in a year, but they are going to go up pretty dramatically here in the near future, according to the study. But I just want to know, first and foremost, what's your cutoff? Where is the line? How high is too high when it comes to ticket costs at Disney for you? Very interested in hearing what's on your mind. All right, so let's get to the story now. This comes to us from Forbes.com, and it's all about how a study is predicting the cost of Disney tickets, especially what the price is going to look like in 10 years' time. Written by Laura Bloom, she says, it's the happiest place on earth, but if a recent report is correct, Disney may soon be one of the most expensive places on earth. Koala, an online website that connects travelers with timeshare owners, recently did a study on the cost of going to the Disney parks in 10 years. The report shows that by the year 2031, the cost of Disney tickets is expected to increase up to a staggering 104%. And at one of the resorts, it will cost over $1,000 per day for a family of 4. Quote, it's always interesting to see how many prices increase over time, says Mike Kennedy, co-founder and CEO of Koala, saying it's hard to imagine the price of an adult ticket to Disneyland in California and to know it was just $2.50 in 1955, close quote. In order to assess where Disney prices are headed, Koala looked at the original cost of a ticket in each of the Disney parks around the world, from Orlando to Tokyo, when it first opened. The site then compared that against current Disney ticket prices in order to predict how much a ticket will cost in 2031. The findings might surprise you. According to Koala, Walt Disney World Resort in Florida is projected to be the most expensive Disney park on the planet. Adult tickets could cost a whopping $253.20 each by 2031. That is an increase of 7,134% since the park first opened 50 years ago. To give you an idea, in 1971, tickets were just $3.50. And today, an adult ticket costs $124. Quote, at that rate, it will cost over $1,000 per day for a family of 4 to go to Walt Disney World in 10 years, says Kennedy. By 2031, Disneyland Resort in California is predicted to cost $224 per person, a mind-boggling 8,858% spike since the resort first opened in 1955. This is the biggest percentage increase across all the Disney parks. Then there's Disneyland Paris. Though it wasn't fully owned by Disney, which could account for the lower prices, when it opened in 1992, a ticket was $30.49, which is, and now it is $79 or $94 in terms of American money, which is an annual increase of 3.34%. Koala projects that a ticket will cost $109.73 or $131 by 2031. That's a 259.89% increase. The Asian parks, Hong Kong, Shanghai, and Tokyo, are likely to remain more affordable, and Koala found that the smallest increase on the list is predicted to be at China's Shanghai Disney Resort, where prices are only projected to rise 25% by 2031. Kennedy says that his company decided to do this research when they witnessed the popularity of one Orlando location. Quote, when we launched Koala, we noticed a surge of bookings at one of the more affordable resorts on the Disney premises in Orlando, Florida, says Kennedy. It was clear that families from all over the world love Disney and were willing to hunt for deals on stays so they could afford the relatively high cost of entry to the parks. Yeah, I don't think that's any secret there. According to Kennedy, the Koala team wondered what effect inflation had on the price of entry and exactly what effect it will continue to have. Quote, was it always considered expensive relative to its time, he asks. Based on the current inflation trajectory, will the exponentially high cost of entry curtail some family vacations in the future? Most importantly, how can we help vacationers prepare for this? Close quote. The Koala team wasn't surprised to see that the price of admission to Walt Disney World in Orlando is set up nearly double. To nearly double by 2031. Quote, after all, the park has huge plans for expansion, including an expansion of Epcot. What did surprise us was how affordable the Disney parks were when they first opened in Florida and California. It is hard to believe, he says, that Walt Disney World in Orlando cost $350 in 1971 compared to $124 today. That's an inflation rate of 7.4%, more than 3 times the national average. One thing that worries Kennedy is whether the prices could begin to feel exclusionary for some, saying, quote, unfortunately, most Disney hacks are catered to those who are willing to spend more, not less, like their new FastPass Plus launching this fall, meaning the Genie Plus system, which starts at $15 per person per day, he says. And yet Disney remains wildly popular even during the pandemic. Quote, like many of our popular destinations this year, travel accelerated as vaccines became widely accessible and travelers felt more confident, says Kennedy. What makes Disney unique, however, was the intensity of the pent-up demand from March to April, for example. Orlando bookings more than doubled during that time. So, interesting to know that prices are going to skyrocket as high as they are. Is it surprising to you that prices are predicted to go up this high? Now, of course, Disney could potentially not raise them that high within the next 10 years, but I think at the rate that we're going, this is probably pretty likely, and it's a little scary to me to know that it is probably going to cost about $1,000 per day for a family of 4, with ticket prices going up, 104%, and definitely becoming far more out of reach for a typical American family. That's definitely not what Disney had in mind. Walt Disney himself, that's definitely not something that I know a lot of you are fans of. That idea that these ticket prices are going up and up and up, and all these add-ons and extras are being thrown at you, and you're having to choose whether or not you want to pay for certain things that were once complimentary. I get that. However, I don't think it's a surprise to know that ticket prices will go up as they have every year for the last, 20 years for Disney parks for the most part. So I think we may have skipped 1 or 2 years here and there, but for the most part, we've watched as Disney park prices have gone up each consecutive year, sometimes twice a year, depending on how popular things are. So you let me know in the comments, are you somebody that has a cutoff, and what is your cutoff when it comes to pricing? What is your cutoff when it comes to just how a ticket price might hit your pocketbook? What's too high? What's too expensive? Let us know in the comments section. We would love to hear from you. And we will be taking your comments up next. Stick around. More Disney News Talk Live next.
Looking for some digital magic to help you through your week? The Kingdom Report is here for you, covering the latest Disneyland and Disney World news, experiences, and events. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Kingdom Report Live so you never miss an update. And drop a subscribe on the Kingdom Report YouTube channel for new videos every week. Don't miss out. Join this growing community of theme park fans as we aim to connect you to more of what makes you happy. For more information, visit KingdomReportLive.com. And now, back to the magic.
Welcome back to Disney News Talk Live. I'm Wade Heath for the Kingdom Report. Great to have you with us. If you are new to the program, thank you so much for giving it a chance. It's something new that we're doing, just seeing how we can engage with you a little bit better and elevate your particular opinions, your perspective, your experiences. That is what this broadcast is all about. Touching on some of the hottest topics of the moment while getting your perspective on the matters. If you haven't dropped a thumbs up or a subscribe, please do so. I would appreciate that a great deal, as I know everybody here at the Kingdom Report would. And it also lets us know that we should continue doing broadcasts just like this. It means a lot. Taking your comments now. Oh, please, has said right now the price far outweighs the current value they are offering. They are charging a fortune for a second-rate experience. So, pretty tough words there, oh please. Definitely something that we are seeing commented more on our videos, that's for sure. We recently put out a video regarding two columnists from the Motley Fool, if I recall correctly. They wrote about whether or not Disney is greedy, smart, or out of touch. I believe they said in particular, is Disney greedy or brilliant? Boy, we continue to get comments every day, multiple times a day, from people who are just so fired up about the Disney experience overall and whether or not there really is any value, and how they are slowly cycling themselves out of being a Disney Parks fan and slowly cycling themselves out of Disney trips and Disney vacations because they feel that they just can't afford it and they're not going to pay the upcharges. So, your comments here definitely echoed throughout some of our own videos that we've produced, saying, of course, that, the price far outweighs the current value that they're offering. And, will that value go down or will it accelerate? I mean, we are going to see, especially at Walt Disney World, Tron, the Tron Light Cycle Run, I believe it's called. That's going to be debuting here in the near future. We are going to see Epcot have the Guardians of the Galaxy attraction open in the near future. We do have some new entertainment coming to Epcot as well in the World Showcase Lagoon. We do have Remy's Ratatouille Adventure opening in France here in the near future. So a lot of things are coming online to try and increase that value, to definitely try and enhance that value. But, your point is well taken that they're charging a fortune for a second-rate experience. However, somebody, I think, commented in our last broadcast about how it's cheaper to go to Knott's Berry Farm. You could always go there. True, and I would call Knott's Berry Farm appropriately priced for the experience. I know what I'm getting there, and I don't think that the price is outrageous. But I also know that my experience at Knott's Berry Farm is going to be far lower than my experience at, say, Disneyland. So, am I willing to pay for a Magic Key annual pass to go to Disneyland? Yes, I am. And I'm willing to pay the upcharged amount, the premium price, because I know I am going to get a premium experience because it's Disney. However, I believe that your point is well taken here, where that value line, that can only be pushed for so long, and eventually that line starts to slowly drop, right? You slowly start to cross that line of value, and it becomes less valuable over the course of time. So thank you, oh please, for your comment. Enchanted Daydream says, yes, breaking budgets, missing a house payment to do it, or having to sell my house to get into a park. That's too high. Thank you for that. Absolutely, yes. Prices, trips in general to Walt Disney World, and they raised prices last year, by the way. I don't know if anybody recognized that in 2020, when most of the world was completely shut down. We all know that Walt Disney World opened in July, right? So they opened last July 2020. Granted, not a lot of people were there, and it took a while to build back, but eventually Walt Disney World returned, and we saw as more and more things came back and more things started to resurface. But something that I wanted to point out was that we witnessed as hotel rates rose last year. While far fewer hotels were being offered at Walt Disney World, we witnessed Walt Disney World kick that price up. So Interesting, right? So I definitely think that that's something worth mentioning. I know that with the pricing going up on resort rates, with the pricing going up on a lot of dining, those sort of incremental prices going up, that all adds up, especially for a family of four. You know, I think about as many trips as I took last year out to Walt Disney World to document what was going on. Yeah, we did this entire series here on the channel called Walt Disney World and Pandemic, where we showcased for you exactly what things were looking like. And I mean, as a historical documentation, that series is something that I think we're all really proud of, just because it was so bizarre. It was such a weird time. It was so strange to have Walt Disney World open when everything else in life was pretty much shut down. But we also witnessed the high-end pricing that they were definitely throwing out there, I think, as an attempt to try and maybe get back some of the cost, that they were spending. I know that the earnings call that happened last year, they said that they lost money, but that essentially they were breaking even on operating the parks. So they weren't necessarily losing a ton, especially since they laid off, ridiculous amounts, tens of thousands of cast members across the organization. So it certainly wasn't labor costs. We know that, but the hotel budgets, or costs, the hotels went up, as did everything dining related. We certainly witnessed a lot of merchandise things kick up. So at any rate, I definitely think that a lot of people are in your boat, Enchanted Daydreams, that this is breaking budgets, right? This is something that the price as an entire purchase, things are becoming ridiculously expensive. And I don't say that lightly, because every year when prices go up on tickets, we hear the big group of people complain, and then everybody goes right back into the parks and they have a reason to raise those ticket prices again. I think potentially we might see a total drop off in attendance. Not dramatic, but I think we will see a total drop off of percentage points in attendance. Sort of a leveling off of capacity. I think you're going to see far less people interested in going back to a place like Walt Disney World when they could go to a place like, say, Universal Studios, where they're going to pay a little less. And Universal Studios is now trying to offer and compete and offer a lot more. And don't even get me started when Epic Universe eventually opens out in Florida for Universal. There's going to be some really great competition. That's going to be a fantastic time to be a theme park fan, because that's going to force Disney's hand once again to kick things up on the value scale. So definitely looking forward to that. Thank you so much, Enchanted Daydreams, for sharing your thoughts. We'll say Gokies too. We'll say that's your username. There we go. He said, I believe that Disney is trying to limit the number of guests Disneyland and still make the same amount of money as before, but there is a tipping point, but I don't know what the price point is. I completely agree with you. There is a tipping point. I don't know what that price point is either, but I think we're getting there. I think it's definitely setting in, and we're hovering. We're hovering around it. As I just mentioned with the Enchanted Daydreams question, I see that we are heading in a direction where, with these extra charge ups, add-ons, these things that are now going to cost us money that used to be complimentary, I feel like we're heading in a direction. I see the writing on the wall that I think we're going to learn that price point here very soon. That's what I definitely think that we're going to see that. So that's on the way, no doubt. And I'm looking forward to learning what that number is here in the near future. But I think Disney is really testing the market. And we're going to have our answer probably in the next 6 months to maybe 8 months. I think you're going to see the initial rush when it comes to Disney World's 50th anniversary. For the sake of nostalgia, you're going to see a lot of people do that as a way in which to go have their commemorative vacation during Disney World's Big 50. But then after that sort of buzz wears off, that's why I say like 6 to 8 months, after that sort of initial buzz of the 50th wears off, then we're going to know for sure what interests the Disney fans have when it comes to pricing, and what is going to stick and what they're going to have to sunset in terms of program, and whether or not this Genie Plus thing is really going to work out in the long run. So great question. Really do appreciate that. Lily Wong asks, any character dining open yet? Yes. So at Disneyland and Walt Disney World, we are seeing character dining back online. As a matter of fact, we do have Storytellers Cafe at the Grand Californian over at Disneyland Resort. That has Mickey's Storytellers Breakfast. In fact, if you are interested, I did a review of that very experience here on the Kingdom Report YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out. Mickey and all the gang are back, as well as a buffet. How about that? So definitely a lot of fun there in the morning. They don't stop moving, so that's something that I like to point out. They don't stop at your table and pose with you like they used to. In fact, they just keep sort of running, and they never quit. So at any rate, they're always moving around, and it's kind of hard to get a photo with them, just because there's motion blur, because they're always in a constant state of motion. So keep that in mind if you want to go to these character dining experiences. They don't really have a place to stand, so they keep moving. That's why I thought, well, maybe taking video is a lot smarter. Maybe that's the right thing to do. So anyway, keep that in mind. Also, over at Disneyland Park, we have the Plaza Inn. Yeah, the Plaza Inn and Minnie and Friends Breakfast in the Park is back. Minnie is behind sort of a barricaded floral cart. So she does stand and pose back behind you. So she's a couple feet behind you, much closer than any of the characters are anywhere else in the park. So Plaza Inn at the edge of Main Street is definitely one that I would recommend doing. And then, of course, at the Napa Rose at the Grand Californian, also Princess Character Dining is back. They too have a specialty photo you can take with the ladies who are at a distance, but certainly something that they have returned. I know Chef Mickey's out at the Contemporary in Walt Disney World. That is something that has recently returned. So you can go experience your yum yum meals at Chef Mickey's and have the characters doing that constant movement around you. Also something that we went ahead and captured in terms of experience this past December was when they had just reopened Topolino's Terrace at Disney's Riviera Resort. That has Mickey and the gang hanging out at the top floor of the Riviera Resort. That was pretty cool. You know, it's a pretty intimate restaurant overall, so they come fairly close, and you know you can take that selfie with them in the background. So character dining is online there as well. And then over at Epcot, Garden Grill. I always want to say Sunshine Seasons, which is downstairs. Garden Grill upstairs is one where you can meet Chip Dale, Mickey, and the gang. They're hanging out up there as well. And I know that plenty of character dining is still set to return. Goofy's Kitchen, by the way, is open at the Disneyland Hotel without Goofy. I've also recently done a review of that. It is so bizarre being at Goofy's Kitchen without Goofy and the gang. So if you want to check that out, head on over to the Kingdom Report YouTube channel. Goofy's Kitchen dinner buffet without Goofy. No friends. Yeah, very, very strange. All right, and we'll take a couple more questions, wrap things up here. Michael says, how are the crowd levels now during weekdays? Well, Michael, I started out the broadcast kind of referencing sort of what we're seeing right now, and that is a pretty unique setup. So as of right now, so this past weekend, reservations booked out, park reservations booked out for the Magic Key holders. Okay, so it was the first official weekend Magic Key holders could come back. Things booked out, and you couldn't get another reservation. You couldn't come in and enjoy yourself if you wanted to. Things were booked. And the wait times topped out at about 45 minutes. Okay, so those were some of the highest that we could see on the app, and those were some of the highest reported from in the park over the course of the weekend. I dropped by on a Monday, and the wait times were about 25 minutes. And you can check this out for yourself. I did a Disneyland in-park update this week from Monday that particularly points out exactly what was going on, what the experience was like, and what those wait times were at both Disneyland and California Adventures. So things were 25 minutes, 30 minutes, somewhere in there. Definitely an uptick in crowds across both parks. And then went back on Wednesday, everything was a walk-on again. And as I understand it, and as some people have even said here in our live chat today, Tuesday was much the same thing. Thursday, it sounds like much the same thing. So very quiet outside of this past weekend and this past Monday. I have no idea why Monday was busy. No idea. But certainly saw much bigger crowds this past Monday than we have in the last couple of weeks. So at any rate, I definitely want to say thank you for sending in your question. And it looks like we are now in this phase where it's peaks and valleys, and I totally anticipate that starting Friday, so starting tomorrow and going through the holiday weekend, it'll likely be very busy. It'll likely be very, very crazy 45-minute waits. I'm pretty sure that's what we will see pretty consistently. So hope that helps. And perhaps when the Halloween fireworks return to Disneyland, that is something I think we are going to see pack the parks as well. And as far as I'm aware, it sounds like they're only doing those fireworks on weekends and then projections during the week. And I could be wrong on that. But I'm pretty sure that that's the setup that they're going with. That's going to pack the parks pretty dang good. So they do every year. Anytime they've had those Halloween fireworks open to the public, everybody comes for them. And there's a reason why. It's because they're quite epic, my man. So they're definitely awesome. Would highly suggest you check those out if you never have. And Walt Disney World, as far as I know, and everything I've been told, not just from our reporter Garrett Hassel, but also everybody else that I know of that's been there recently, absolutely dead. All 4 theme parks. It sounds like Rise of the Resistance during the week especially has had some of the best efficiency days it's ever had at Hollywood Studios. So Walt Disney World doing incredibly well for itself in terms of walk-on attractions. Not incredibly well in terms of filling the parks, though. So things have been very quiet. It's the calm before the 50th anniversary storm, Michael. So thank you so much for checking in with us. Bruce says, might see enough of an attendance drop to be notable. Whether they admit it and react appropriately is another story. Last guest out, please turn off the lights and lock the gate behind you. Thank you, Bruce. And Pravina says, is Garden Grill only serving lunch and dinner now? I can't find breakfast menu anymore, and I really wanted to try the sticky buns. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I believe that the last time I was there after Garden Grill officially had come back this past spring, at least that was the first time I saw it after it was back open. That was something where I only saw them available at lunch and dinner, so I didn't see a breakfast option. That could have changed over the course of time, as they typically offer more when the parks get busier and they increase capacity, and they really have increased capacity quite a bit out at Walt Disney World. So I'm not necessarily sure if it comes when it comes to breakfast out at Epcot's Garden Grill. But lunch and dinner are an option, and as far as I know, they don't fill up typically. So lunch and dinner, especially when I was there during sort of a spring break era, I didn't see very many people at those tables hanging out with Mickey and the gang. Obviously, it's a modified version of the character dining experience, so definitely something that I'd say, consider before you book. It's not the same experience. They're at a distance. They're on the second level of the rotating restaurant, and you're on the bottom level, so they're kind of up behind you. But I didn't see a whole lot of people in there, and I didn't see much of a line either. Of course, those things can change, but given how quiet the parks have been recently, there's a pretty big chance things have been just as quiet. So at any rate, I hope that helps. And I'll check into that breakfast menu and as to whether or not breakfast is back for Garden Grill here so that I can be up to date on that information as well. Well, my friends, this has been a lot of fun. I want to thank you for being a part of today's broadcast of Disney News Talk Live. Again, if you appreciate what we are doing here, if you like what you've heard, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. If you aren't subscribed to us, what are you waiting for? You need to subscribe. Jeez Louise. Make sure you are subscribed, and let me know in the comments if you are somebody that finds value in these sorts of broadcasts. If you're somebody that thinks we should keep doing them, we certainly will. And always looking forward to hearing your feedback and your perspective on anything that we do cover. But we will be seeing you this Saturday for an all-new Kingdom Report Live. That's right, the video news show is back. You can see myself as well as Tyler Crouch, Katrina Manzoni. We will be bringing you all the Disney Parks news from coast to coast. And then hopefully in the next Disney News Talk Live, Garrett Hassel, our Walt Disney World reporter, will be joining us with all the headlines from out east. So at any rate, it is a great pleasure being with you, and I hope you and I will see each other real soon. For the Kingdom Report, I'm Wade Heath. We'll see you next time for another edition of Disney News Talk Live.